Welcome, everybody, to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and attention coach, 𝐔𝐘𝐒. Um, I would like to take an opportunity to thank an individual for making a post. I had done a video a little while ago talking about thinking, really trying to take some things that I've learned from studying Dr. Russell Barkley's model of executive functions as I built cognitive ergonomics from the inside out, which is a new field of engineering and a new ADHD intervention. And I've been trying to do more and more just somewhere kind of between the research and theory of Dr. Barkley and the tips, tricks, and strategies to kind of talk about kind of what's going on in a way that people can really understand and get ADHD. And one of the things that I did in getting ready for a presentation is ADHD is very much a problem-solving impairment. And it's really a thinking impairment. People get kind of confused. And so I put together a slide really to kind of illustrate, which I'll share with everybody right now, is that we use thoughts to think, but there's different kinds of thinking. And I don't want to spend a lot of time, but in the other video, I reviewed that on the left side, you have more automatic thinking, which is thinking that doesn't really require a lot of effort, like daydreaming and worrying. There's really no goal to it. It just kind of happens. There's judging, which doesn't really require a lot of cognitive effort. You're just kind of jumping to conclusion, maybe a little bit more the daydreaming. Learning, where you're digesting discrete pieces of known information with the goal of understanding it. Contemplative thinking, where you're looking at data and coming up with a hypothesis. These are all forms of thinking that we use. But with ADHD, when you cross over to this area that's red into problem solving, that's where the impairment is a challenge. And what's important to understand about problem, by its nature, it's multifaceted and ambiguous. Again, multifaceted and ambiguous. And I would argue that if you take a look at your procrastination list, like 90% or excuse me, 80% of the items, if you look at it at some level, have some level of multifaceted and ambiguity. And in the video, I was encouraging people like, if you've got ADHD, the focus really shouldn't be on behavioral training. That doesn't really solve it, but more to what do I do to make thinking easier, to accommodate the challenge of it. And so here's where my point really is, and what was interesting. And if the person that made this post is watching this, I really want them to understand, I'm grateful that you made this post. And a lot of people would respond the same way. So this is not at all directed towards you. In fact, I'm actually thankful for the comment. But what the person's comment was, okay, how do I make thinking easier? Now, herein lies the thing. Thinking is difficult. It's really problem solving. Thinking is really, really effortful, and there's an emotional urge to escape. So what I'm identifying is that you need to make the thinking easier. People are looking for me to tell them how to make thinking easier. And there is so complicated. It depends on you individually, your learning modalities, the situational variability, the problem that you're trying to solve. It's really difficult. It's really to say this is the thing that you need to do, other than the mindset is you got to take a look at what you're doing and say, well, how do I make this easier? I mean, there's infinite number of ways to do that. And again, the variables are out there. Part of my cognitive ergonomics program that I alluded to earlier is to identify kind of what's going on cognitively. So like, we hated doing word problems when we were in school because you had to read a bunch of stuff, identify the variables, relevant variables, put them in some type of order to solve the problem. In other words, you had to derive the equation. And so when you're sitting there trying to, or you're procrastinating on something that's multifaceted and ambiguous, rather than randomly try a tip, tool, or strategy, or think that your behavioral training is going to get you there, that focuses back up for a second and say, how can I make thinking easier? And think about that in that context of the situation. If you can use deductive reason, I think that you'll find will get you there a little bit quicker. I use it all the time in my coaching practice. When somebody walks in, I go, well, what's hard about this? Then I go, what's easy? And we brainstorm. And I say easy, we go to the land of the unicorns. come up with anything, because you'd be surprised. You come up with something wacky, you can get there probably closer than you think. So again, why did I do the video? I want to do this video again to isolate is that ADHD is more of a problem-solving, a thinking impairment. And I broke it down for you contextually. And even the people out there that identify with this, they're looking for somebody else to do the thinking for them. The idea here really is maybe I can't give you a tip or strategy or solution, but maybe you work with somebody to say this is the situation and work together to try to figure out how to brainstorm and make it easier. I think if you do that, you'll be surprised at how helpful this is. If you're new to our channel, please hit the subscribe button. We try to release information on ADHD every week. If you're an existing subscriber, what are your thoughts? If you're the person who made the comment, again, I'm grateful to you for making the comment, because it gave me the opportunity to illustrate. The point is, even thinking about how to make thinking easier is something that people like to escape from. So also, we do what we do for you. We certainly like any contribution you make by hitting the thanks button. So with that, we hope you've enjoyed this edition of Attention Talk Video. Take care.